Welcome to our presentation on no Sheen Ezreal. It's mathematically correct. I'm Jonas,
And I'm Aaron.
and together we are the FKJ Bros.
The theory behind No Sheen Ezreal started when Riot decided to nerf Divine Sunderer again, this time taking it down to 35 AD and previously making the healing from it basically non existent for ranged champions. So I looked around in the item store. I walked up to Boris. Hey Boris, what do you got for me today? He said, hey, have you heard of Eclipse? It offers 55 AD, gives you 18 lethality, and a sweet 8% Omnivamp on top. And I thought to myself, wow, that sounds like a great deal. It's just Divine Sunderer, but better in every way. And then I kept looking around and I looked down at those boots, those Ionian boots of Lucidity, Ezreal's always wearing. And I thought to myself, wow, for a champion that has 3 abilities that do magic damage, this guy sure never builds any magic pen. And sure, Divine Sunderer offered him some percent to get in there, but I want to beat people up early on. Sorcerer Shoes are right there, and amplify the damage on 3 out of 4 of Ezreal's abilities. Next, we look at the ratios on his W, E, and R. They are all bonus AD, meaning that he benefits even more from buying items with a high AD value compared to some of the items that you'd traditionally see, like Divine Sunderer again, having a low AD value, building into a Frozen Heart maybe, also a lower AD value, and even sometimes in the trenches of low elo, you see something like a Bork, which is just criminal. So this build, the No Sheen Ezreal, its goal is to bridge the gap between AD and AP Ezreal. We provide way more burst damage than the standard build, while also being able to kill tanks and not throwing away the entire early game like AP Ezreal does.
Now I know what you're thinking. That's a whole lot of words and not a lot of images. So we're about to let the pictures do the talking, and I'm going to run you through the item path you'll take with no Sheen Ezreal. You'll start off with the tier, just so you can stack it for that sweet, sweet completed Miramana, and then build into an Eclipse before finishing off your second item, the Manamune. This will be your power spike, and this is the point where you have a little bit more flexibility, and you can build into any of these 3 items. Yomu's if you're against a squishy team, Cyrilda's if you wish to have a slow, and maybe if you're against some tanks, or Ravenous Hydra if you just need some more wave clear. For boots, we selected a few options for you. You can do the only correct boot pick and go Sorcerer's Shoes. If you need to flash back into your crib because you fell out, you can go Ionian Boots of Lucidity. And if you're a little baby who decides that you don't want to die, you can go Ninja Tabby or Merc Treads.
But before we get to buying any items, we have to build our runes so that we have the highest chance of earning that money. To start us off, the big one, Dark Harvest. Scales up your burst damage throughout the game and helps you do more damage in a team fight. You get a kill, you get your Dark Harvest back, you get another kill. It keeps going. Next, we want to take Sudden Impact. You're E'ing in. This isn't Divine Sunderer Ezreal, you're E'ing away, trying to poke people down with Qs. No, you're E'ing in for the burst, you're gaining that lethality and magic pen, double the value that most champions get from their Sudden Impact, and you're beating people up. Next, of course, Eyeball Collection. It's stacking AD. What more can you ask for? The other 2, who cares about vision? We're here to kill people. Ravenous Hunter, just a little sweet something on top. You don't need Ultimate Hunter on Ezreal, your Q does that for you. You don't have any item cooldowns, so just take the ability healing. What's not to love? Jumping over to Sorcery, Mana Flow Band. This gives you mana. Because it gives you mana, it gives you AD, because you have Manamune, and which turns into Muramana. And then you also take Absolute Focus, because you're trying to surprise the enemy. You're going to be at full health, you E out of a brush, ult out of a brush, things like that. That extra AD, extra burst, like I've said, we're here to one-shot people, so of course, down in your stats, double Adaptive Force and some armor to help you lane.
With no Sheen Ezreal, you have a couple of combos that have been opened up for you. The first one, we call the one-tapper. This is when you start off with your ult, and then you land a W and E, you Q and you auto very fast. This is your maximal damage, one-shot the enemy ADC, insane burst combo. If you're really fast, you might be able to even E before your ult hits them. Following up with the Lil Chunker. We like to call this one the Lil Chunker, not because it does a little bit of damage, but because when you land it, the enemy's left with a Lil chunk of health left. Here you simply hit your W, you see that you hit it, and you launch an R at him. It's as easy as that. Our final combo in our arsenal is the, oh, you tanky, huh? And this is your tank busting combo. First, you hit an auto, then you Q, then you auto, then you W, then you auto, then you E, then you R, then you auto, then you Q, then you auto, then you Q, then you auto, then you W. And continue that on until you have killed the tank.
Now, talking about the combos is nice, but we have to make sure that the numbers add up. So I hopped into the practice tool and started wailing on the dummy. We set the health to 1,400 and it had 60 armor and MR. Looking at the 2-item damage, we see a 160 damage increase. Not that much, but that can make the difference in lethal. And the dummy had 60 MR, which brings back the value of some of that flat pen. You can expect an ADC to be around 30 to 40 MR, meaning that this combo is going to be doing even more damage. But where we see a huge jump is at level 18. Your full build, and you're hitting a 2000 HP, 90 armor, and MR target. This is pretty standard for hitting an enemy ADC. We see that the standard build does 2,170 damage, whereas the no Sheen build with the proper Sork shoes does 2,756. That can make a difference in maybe killing through a shield bow or a Lulu shield, things like that. And if we want to take a look at the incorrect boots, the build without the sorcerer shoes, 2,501. So even if you're choosing to sacrifice optimal damage, you're still way outclassing the standard build.
So, I got a question for you, Aaron.
And what might that question be?
What is the full build standard on Ezreal?
Well, I decided to look at the Platinum Plus worldwide data from U.GG and found that the standard build was a Divine Sunderer, Manamune, Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Cyrilda's Grudge, Frozen Heart, and Ravenous Hydra.
And we didn't choose to write that down or put pictures in here because you shouldn't be caring about it.
Next, I wanted to demonstrate a little bit of the mid-game power that no Sheen Ezreal brings. So here, we're looking at the Lil Chunker, which is a W and an ultimate. And taking a look at the difference between the standard and the no Sheen at 2 items, you see that there is a 170 damage difference. Now that will make the difference between lethal very often. And once again, we're looking at flat magic pen versus 60 MR on a 100% magic damage combo, which means that in a real game, you're going to be doing even more damage than this over the standard build. Taking a look later on, you'll see that this difference does get evened out a little bit. Everyone's been hit by a WR by a full item Ezreal at some point, and it hurts a lot. But even there, we're still out damaging the percent magic pen that the Divine Sunderer gives you.
Wrapping it all up, we've seen the build, we've seen how you've done it, we see why it's potent. Now let's look at some of the pros and the cons of no Sheen Ezreal. The pros. We have a stronger early and mid game. We have more burst to assassinate that ADC. We have more sustain to stay in lane. Now, when you run out of HP, you don't need to back because you won't be running out of HP. You're much stronger versus those squishy champions, and you have a lot of customizability after 2 items. The cons, you're going to be squishier. You have less defense, you have less HP, you have less CDR, so you don't have as many opportunities to get your combo off. You have no percent magic penetration, you're worse against tanks, and you have less damage on your Q poke. And I'd consider these to be pretty big cons except for one thing, and that one thing is that we only care about blowing up squishies, so all of the cons are actually irrelevant.
Thank you for listening to us today. If you want to see more from us, check us out on twitch.tv/FKJBros. If you want to see us try to be funny rather than attempting to be smart, check us out on twitter.com/FunkyKongsJorts. And I hope you enjoy taking no Sheen Ezreal into your games, and please share with us your success or failure. But remember, if you fail, it's not our fault, it's yours.
Goodbye.